Have you ever noticed that A's are symmetrical, but A's are also asymmetrical? This junk keeps me up at night. So today we are going to be making what's called a mandala. A mandala is an art form practiced by several Eastern cultures and religions. It's typically a very colorful design with lots of different rings, each one containing a different pattern or design. We're going to be making something like this. So let's look at our supplies. We are going to need something to draw on. I'm going to be using plain white paper as usual. However, if you have lined paper or colored paper, that works fine. If you just have dry erase board, that's also great. Anything you could draw on. We need something to draw with. I'm going to be starting with a regular number 2 pencil and then tracing it with Sharpie. If you've got dry erase board, you're probably going to use dry erase marker, obviously. You're going to need something to draw straight lines with. I'm going to be using a ruler, but anything with a straight edge will help you draw a straight line. You could use junk mail. You could use another sheet of paper. Anything will work. You're going to need several round objects to trace. I've got a small cup. I've got a couple of bowls, but lids to jars, pots, pans, anything round. You're probably going to need 3 or 4 of these to trace to create your different rings. You're going to want something to color with. You could use crayons. I'm going to be using a collection of markers. You could use colored pencils. Really, any of those will work. Once you get all your supplies, we can get started. Okay, so our first step in making a mandala is to take our rectangular piece of paper and turn it into a square piece of paper. So I'm going to take the corner of my paper and I'm going to fold it over just like this. I'm going to line up the edges, kind of forming this triangle shape. What that'll do is it'll tell me where I need to trim this paper to make it square. So now that I have this straight line right here, I'm going to cut that, fold this a little flatter so I can actually see where I'm going. If it helps to mark where that line is, you could do that. Oh my goodness. Pencil's going everywhere. And we're just going to cut that line. Okay. Use that as a bookmark later. So now we have a square piece of paper. The next step is to find the center of this piece of paper. There's a very, very easy way to do that. We're going to take our straight edge and we are going to connect the corners of our square. So I'm going to connect top left to bottom right, just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing to top right and bottom left. Going straight across, corner to corner. And now we know that where this X is our center. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start building our mandala. So I'm going to pull out my smallest circle. I'm going to put that right in the middle. And I'm going to trace it. There we go. Now these lines are going to tell us where our radial symmetry works. So we're just going to use these as guides to make sure everything stays symmetrical. So I'm going to maybe put in, something simple on each line. Kind of like a flower petal shape maybe. Doesn't have to be anything complex. You guys could come up with your own designs. Make it interesting. You could do pointy star shapes. You could do rectangular shapes. Whatever works for you. Whatever you think might be neat looking. As long as it stays the same going in each direction. Top, bottom, left, and right. All are all symmetrical. It means they all look the same. And then from here, we're going to put in our next ring of our mandala. So I'm going to take a slightly larger circle. I'm going to trace that. Try to get it as close to the center as you can. Here we go. There's another ring. Let's see, what can we do in this one? Maybe something pointy. We got some nice round flowery shapes here, so let's try something new. Maybe add some triangles in to this ring. Remember to draw lightly. That way if you make a mistake, you can erase it. Add some more triangles in. Again, you don't have to do triangles. You could put something else here. You could have, I don't know, like some circles going around this ring. That works too. Doesn't have to be anything complex. We're just kind of making it up as we go along. You can also put things inside the shapes you've already drawn. So I have these triangles here. I could put a line down the middle. I was already got a line. I don't know, maybe add some stripes to one side. Do that to each of them. Remember to keep it symmetrical so that every piece you draw is the same. So all these triangles are the same, all the circles are the same. Everything matches. All right, I think we're ready to add another ring. So I'm going to grab another circle. We'll put it on there. And we're going to trace it again. Again, try to get it centered as much as you can. All right. Let's see, what do I want to put on this one? Maybe kind of a cool squiggly design would be neat. Again, starting at those lines so we can keep everything symmetrical. And then maybe fill in the area in between. Alright, I think this needs something else. Why don't we put, let's put a triangle. No, let's put some dots here. We'll kind of match that shape. Just in between, make it a little more interesting. Be creative. Fill in your rings with all sorts of interesting things. The more stuff you have in here, the better it's going to look. The more complex it's going to be, the more eye-catching it's going to be. Almost forgot that one. Haha. But I caught myself. Alright, we got a little bit of space left, so I think I'm going to add something else. Maybe another kind of compassy type pattern. Just all the way out to those corners. Now, if you drew this in pencil, it's probably a good idea to outline this in some kind of ink or pen, possibly marker, just so it shows up nice and bold. So I'm going to do that, and then we can move on to coloring. Okay, so as you can see here, I've traced everything out with ink to make it really nice and bold, make it stand out, and we are ready to start coloring. Now, your standard mandala is really colorful, so you're going to want to pick a lot of colors to use on this thing because they are very bold, very bright, very pretty. So, starting probably at the inside ring, pick a color and start filling it in. Take your time, make it look good. I'm going to pick another color. I'm going to move out just a little bit. Next layer, start coloring that in. Again, take your time, stay in the lines. Mandalas are usually pretty clean looking. They're not very scribbly, not very messy. So make sure you take your time to make it look good. We're just going to fill in this whole mandala with lots and lots of colors, covering the whole paper. And here you have my finished mandala design. Now remember, you do not have to do the same patterns in each ring that I did. You can make up your own, come up with your own ideas, your own designs. Maybe use some of those Zentangle designs we made in an earlier project. Just remember to keep it colorful, keep it symmetrical, and most importantly, have fun with it. So now that you've seen how I made my mandala, I want to see yours. Post a picture of it in our class art gallery.